Hi everyone. Today I'm presenting my work on template-based graph registration network for boosting the diagnosis of brain connectivity disorders. This work has been done at Basira Lab by myself, Mohamed Amin Garsoloi, and supervised by Dr. Islam Rekik. Given a set of brain graphs, how to predict their brain connectivity states such as healthy or disordered? There are several studies on graph neural networks for graph classification. A study proposed graph convolutional network, GCN, which applies convolutional operations to graphs to learn a hidden layer that captures local graph structures and node features. The other one introduced graph attentional network, GAT, an attention-based architecture that generates hidden representations for each node in a graph by calculating the importance of each neighbor. On top of these, a work proposed diffpool, a differentiable graph pooling module for hierarchical graph representation. Also, another work came up with an encoder-decoder architecture for graphs and introduced graph units, which consists of graph pooling and graph unpooling blocks. However, all these methods share a prime challenge. They fail to capture the neural interactions between brain regions as they are trained without guidance from any biological template. Template-based learning is commonly used on Euclidean data, such as images. Image-based brain templates are commonly used to register an input image to a prior image-based template. However, graph-based registration is absent in the literature. Therefore, we propose the first graph registration network, GRN, that learns how to register brain graphs into a template to obtain more class-wise discriminative versions. Given a population of brain graphs in varying brain states, we think that if we can register each individual into a population center, namely a connectional brain template, we can obtain class-wise distinct versions of them. A population template captures the shared traits across individuals even in the presence of large variability. Hence, to quantify the distance from what is individual different to what is commonly shared across individuals, we propose a graph-based registration. What we mean by registration is a sort of an alignment between an individual brain graph and the population center graph that will allow us to identify what singles out the individual from the population center. To register each brain into the CBT, we propose GRN, the first graph-based registration network. As an overview, first we learn how to register the brain graphs into a template with our registration network. Then we use the registered brain graphs to feed into the plugin GNN that learns to classify the state of the brain graphs. These steps work in an end-to-end fashion, optimizing a joint loss function. Here we have a close look to our proposed GRN. The registration network generates the individual connectivity patterns of each brain graph with respect to the population center by learning how to transform each brain graph into the CBT. The registered graphs will be more class-wise distinct compared to their original selves, easing the plugin GNN's classification job. Here is the discriminator of GNN. As a regularizer for the registration network, the discriminator takes a registered brain graph and the CBT as inputs and decides whether the registered brain graph looks like a real or a fake CBT. If the discriminator decides that the registered graph is real, it means that the brain graph is well registered. Our registration network aims to optimize the following loss function. To improve the quality of the registered graph, we add an L1 loss term to the adversarial loss function to minimize the distance between each registered brain graph and a CBT. In the last step, we feed the registered brain graphs into a plugin classifier GNN that learns the brain states of the input brain graphs. Our framework is trained in an end-to-end fashion and backpropagates through the whole network. Therefore, GRN and the plugin network act dependently with each other, and send feedback to each other, which helps optimize the learning process. The plugin GNN can be any conventional GNN. Our full loss term becomes registration loss added to the GNN classifier loss. To evaluate GRN, we use 300 subjects from the ABITE dataset, 150 being normal control and 150 subjects with autism spectrum. We evaluated our framework using 5-fold cross-validation. Further, we evaluated our framework using ADNI dataset with 77 subjects, 36 with late-mild cognitive impairment and 44 with Alzheimer's disease. We benchmarked our framework against 4 conventional GNNs, respectively GCN, GET, DIFPUL, and GUNets. Therefore, we conducted 16 different experiments using 2 datasets with left and right hemisphere and 4 conventional GNNs as classification networks. Here, we can see the prediction accuracy results for ACDNC dataset at left and right hemisphere. Our GRN model remarkably boosted the prediction accuracy of conventional GNN methods, resulting in 75% success in accuracy boost, outperforming 12 out of 16 experiments. Here, we report the prediction accuracy results for ADLMCI datasets at left and right hemisphere. In this work, we introduced the first template-based graph registration framework that can be used as a plugin to boost the performance of graph neural network architectures. GRN can be used as a plugin for any downstream learning task, such as graph classification, synthesis, link prediction, or graph regression. We propose a framework that works in an end-to-end manner by optimizing a joint loss function for both registration and classification networks. GRN combined with the comparison GNNs remarkably boosted the classification accuracy compared to bare comparison GNNs. We further investigated our framework's performance by identifying the biological markers of autism spectrum, late-mild cognitive impairment, and Alzheimer's disease. In our future work, we will extend our GRN to handle multimodal brain graphs for a better modeling of the multiple interaction types between brain regions. Feel free to check our recent TPAMI paper on graph neural networks in network neuroscience. You can also visit the GitHub repo of the paper. For more, feel free to visit us at basira-lab.com. Thank you for your attention.